Good morning. About 20 after 9 on the second day of April 2019. Here with MarketWizards.com and eMiniWizard.com, reminding traders to use risk capital you can afford to lose. Strange business. It's not like other investments where you can just lose what you put in. You can lose more and a lot more than you put in. A lot of new traders don't understand that concept. Make sure you have risk capital and never, ever let it run against you. Take your stop out, go to the sidelines, think carefully about what you want to do, if anything. It's a risky business. It's a good business for those who learn it. All right, earlier I had said that let's consider 73 and a half, 73 to 75 as a double top. And using aggressively that 75 resistance and thinking that the 10-point trade just about done. Haven't quite got 10 points overnight. And gap is filled. Anybody that's playing for the gap trade, gap, we said let's consider 71 to 70, 75. Gap traders, make sure you are paid. Today is one of those days that morning after trend day, but we had such a big move yesterday. It started off very slowly and gradually, but just kept chomping away to the upside. And this is beginning of the month bias, presumably. So anybody that's coming in, we're using the notion today of consolidating right now. Two-way day probably. Bias still to the upside to be testing that 78 and perhaps higher even. Here's the 30-minute chart that I told you that I was looking at, and I thought this was an important chart. You can see that we have not hit the blue line. Tells me that this is still an alligator. It's still moving to the upside until we break down the blue line and get below it. And even then, it's not bearish. It would just be much more neutral. To be bearish, you got to come back in here, get under this 41, 42, and keep on coming. Could that happen? Sure. Anything could happen in a heartbeat, but not likely right now. Hello, Sean. How are you? This is the 2-day range. And I'm putting this green circle down here. I think we need to accommodate that territory as well. So we can make that adjustment. And we would be taking it from that gap area. Because this was thrown up with a gap, and then obviously we've got a couple of gaps. You can see those in a couple of charts. Now here's one. I mean, the gap back down in here. So this is a double island, and which is one of the reasons why I was a little conservative today with expectations early on. I don't like to see double island and then another gap that doesn't get filled. So we've come a long way. Tunnel through time. Wedge that we had talked about. Thrown it up here. We seem to be consolidating right now. Do have targets up here above that 78. Got mentioned in the room a couple of targets, one back in here at 90 and a quarter to 92. I don't believe that's for today. I think that's our resistance. Here's the monthly that we put together yesterday. Remember we were talking with Scott yesterday, and I suggested that we should put this one above us and that this was really the fighting box. So for now, this is our fighting box, and we could do the same thing. Say this is our support box, and this is our resistance. But let's just keep this in mind right now. This is our resistance box that we are fighting in. And we got back here, this would be the neutral, and this is obviously the support box. So if we take out the high of this circle, then we will take a look and say, okay, let's move everything up. And so what this has done is an overshoot of last month's high, and we need to remember that today and going forward. That's 66. Above that, we're cruising for new resistance tests. Below that, we've abandoned that and come back in testing for support. At least that's the way I like to do it. And here's that 76, 75. I said, let's use 78 as the resistance. We're getting close to that. This is a retest. We can go back and look in December, and we can talk about that, especially newer traders. We'll talk about, where we picked that low and how that low is held. That chart, we were within 5 points of that low. And certainly not claiming credit for every inch of this bounce. You can't do that, obviously. Just that system had identified, whoa, you better get paid here. And then we've been off to the races ever since. Step by step, we wanted to get by this middle right in here. And then we next target, try to get above, was over here, right? And then eventually this became our next target, trying to get up here to do the retest. We get above that. Then the next resistance, obviously, at the top. And I believe this is what Sean referenced earlier in terms of supply. But as you can see, this type of supply everybody thought was resistance. Once you get above it, it turns into support. So trading is a funny business. All you can do is manage your losses the best you can and try to take something out of the market when you're right. All right, we're going to be opening up. There is no gap trade at the open. We're right near that. I suggest 5 minutes on the sidelines for anybody that is a conservative trader. Wind is still blowing at the back of the longs. The question is for how long? Aggressive support currently. Low of the day. We suggested overnight probably a 65 to 75 range. So far, we are still just about inside that range. And I think probably two-way day. Edge still to the longs because of beginning of the month. So suggestion one is to try to buy a pullback and don't think about anything other than a small scalp with the trend. And if you're conservative, give it a couple of minutes.